Good morning. Just for future reference, it is allowed to sit on that side of the church. Just We're going to start with a slightly complicated song, but we're going to sing it 3 times. So join as you feel comfortable. It's kind of a cool song to sing this time of year. Here we go. How did the rose ever open? How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all of its beauty? How did the rose ever open? How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all of its beauty? Next part goes. It felt the encouragement of life. It felt the encouragement. It felt the encouragement of life against its being. Otherwise we all remain too frightened. Otherwise we all remain too frightened. Try with us again. How did the rose ever open? How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all of its beauty? That repeats. How did the rose ever open? How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all of its beauty? It felt the encouragement of life. It felt the encouragement. It felt the encouragement of life against its being. Otherwise we all remain too frightened. Otherwise we all remain too frightened. One more chance. How did the rose ever open? How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all of its beauty? How did the rose ever open? How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all of its beauty? It found the encouragement of life. It found the encouragement. It found the encouragement of life against its being. Otherwise we all remain too frightened. Otherwise we all remain too frightened. And good morning. I think the words are from the Persian poet Hafiz, although it might be Rumi. I'm not quite sure. One of those dudes. Paul Freeman.
Good morning. I'm Paul Freeman, a member of the Board of Trustees here at Unity, and I'd like to welcome everybody to Unity Church this morning, where it's raining outside, but inside it's sunny and warm and peaceful and loving. So welcome to Unity Church. And would everybody join me in our mission statement? The mission of Unity Church in Albany is to awaken to and embrace the Christ in all persons through prayer and service. So our job is to start out with a prayer. My wife Dottie says this is not a prayer, but it's a good thought. So you can decide if Dottie's right or I'm right. Our inner voice is talking to us all of the time, but we only hear it when we want to. The awareness of our voice's presence is our responsibility. We can't pick up the message on the receiver until we turn the receiver on. We turn the receiver on and listen. Despite the fact that the broadcast is constantly being beamed to us, we must listen to hear that inner voice. So now we have some announcements. And the prayer chaplains, Dennis Ryan, okay, good. Priscilla? Phyllis. Yeah. And Dennis Ryan is here in spirit, and he'll actually be here by the end of the service. And I just want to remind you, the prayer chaplains look forward to praying with you. So if you have some prayer that you would like to have help with, do them a favor and go back and pray. The service and community that meets on the first Sunday of every month has ordered shirts, and they should be arriving soon. Our next coffee house is scheduled for Friday, July 12th, so you have a lot of time to prepare. And so just put it on your calendar. Jeff Bauer's photography is still available for donations. It's in, if you go down the stairs to the fellowship hall, in that entranceway, all those photos and pictures and masks are from Jeff Bowers. And if you'd like to take one and make a love donation and get it to Renee Lecklider, all the proceeds will go to Jeff's son Blake and for funeral costs. Detailed info and how and where to send the monies is included on flyers that are on a table down there. And today, Dana Marrocco is not only presenting the service, but she also has a class this afternoon at 12:45, 1 o'clock, and I'll let Dana explain it instead of listen to me read. Okay?
Good morning. So my talk this morning will be about understanding the self-deception that we share, the lies we tell ourselves, and how they're the same lies. And then this afternoon will be more about the practice of living from your most authentic self. And as you'll see from my talk this morning, I like to teach with song and skits, exercises, meditation. I like to switch it up, and it will be fun, so I hope you can join me.
Father's Day is June 16th, and just like on Mother's Day, if you would forward a photo of yourself and your father, and it'll be part of the service. So just email unityalbany@yahoo.com, even attach pictures, and they'll be part of the Father's Day service. We are actively recruiting 9 a.m. ushers, although as of next week you'll be out of a job. But you can practice at the 10 a.m. service. So see Sally DeShane if you're interested. If Sally's not here, if you see me, I'll make sure Sally gets your name. And as I just referred to, next Sunday, if you get here at 9 o'clock, come downstairs and help us set up for hospitality. So one service starting next Sunday, 10 a.m. until Labor Day. There's an Earth Care Committee, and it's holding its first meeting today. And it'll continue to meet on the third Sunday of every month. and it'll meet after the 10 o'clock service in the garden room. So if this interests you, it's Earth Care. It's how Unity can support the Earth Care concept. So in the garden room, actually don't go today because we're all going to Dana's class. So I don't know. And we are participating in Pride Day, and tie-dye shirts will be available. Pride Day is on June 9th, so the second Sunday in June. So we are participating in the parade. We have a table there. This is a great outreach opportunity for people in the Albany community to know about Unity Church, what we do, what our ideals are. So there's 2 ways to support the Pride Day. Well, actually one way. Go out in the lobby. There's a sign-up sheet and sign up for something that interests you. And now the Daily Word. So we have a Daily Word. This is last week's. Yeah, May 12th, right? I've got one at home. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I am gratefully and wonderfully blessed. Henry David Thoreau wrote, I am grateful for what I am and have. My thanksgiving is perpetual. An attitude of thankfulness serves me well when I consider how many blessings for which I am grateful. In a quiet moment, I open mind and heart to experience the magnificence and magnitude of all that God is. I consciously know that I am grateful for divine presence in my life. Because of this, I give thanks in advance for the many possibilities and opportunities before me. Gratitude is the heart's response to life's infinite blessings. My gratitude expresses as peace, love, and joy. With anticipation and appreciation for future blessings, I affirm, I am gratefully and wonderfully blessed. And then from Psalms 139, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And thank you.
I invite you to stand and join us for the song.
Get ready, my soul.
Okay, good morning. So I'm happy to be the what is the word for what this is? I don't know. The minister, I guess, this morning. As Reverend Crystal is making her way back from Sedona with her mom and stepfather. So the assistant minister, that's my official title, in fact. And happy to say that despite the rain, this is the day the Lord has made.
Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
All right. Wow, yesterday was one of those days to rejoice and be glad in. It was pretty amazing. I hope you were having fun outside. I know I was. I was dragged around by my two granddaughters for several hours and nearly collapsed in a heap afterwards, but I'm here today. Again, we're happy to welcome Dana Marrocco with us this morning. And so if you came in late, Dana's here to speak and offer the meditation and to do a workshop this afternoon. And you'll find out more about that in her talk. Let's see. Is there anybody here for the first time this morning? Would be the next question. You can raise your hand. I think everybody's been here before. Great. Welcome back. Welcome back, Kathy. We ought to give you a little present anyway, because it's been a while. Yeah. Let's see if there's anything I need to tell you. I think everybody that's here knows that we have ways to pray with you. I don't need to belabor that, but there's information on the bulletin about how you can send in an email for prayer, or you can pray with our chaplains, or you can fill out the prayer slips and put them in the answer box. That's wonderful. So I think we can probably just carry on with the statement of oneness. Do that together. Let's say it together. The power of Christ's love now releases me from any sense of separation from spirit or others. There is only one presence and one power in my life and in the universe. That is God, the good omnipotence. So we're going to lead us into our meditation time with a little chant. Simple chant. You can just sing along with me as the other voices bring in other parts. I allow, I surrender.
Beautiful. Thank you, Roger and music team. The ego judges to stay alive, So this meditation will be about releasing judgment to uncover the knowledge beyond it. So there is a reward. I invite you to sit comfortably and close your eyes. Rest your hands on your thighs, palms turned upward. Lengthen your spine, roll your shoulders back and down, lifting your chin slightly. Sit as if you are nothing less than royalty. Become aware of your breathing in and out through the nostrils. Don't try to change your breathing. It will slow and deepen on its own. Now practice watching your thoughts as they arise. In your mind, label each thought with a like or dislike. We automatically do this with every thought, but are usually unaware of it. Resist trying to influence the thoughts that come up. Just label each one like or dislike. If your mind wanders away from the task, just bring it back as soon as you're aware of it. I will give you 2 minutes to practice labeling your thoughts like or dislike. Now continue to watch your thoughts without labeling them. Watch them with a slight disinterest, as if you were watching someone else's thoughts. But continue to watch them without labeling them. Just let them be. For 2 minutes, watch your thoughts without labeling them. Now notice which practice you preferred. Judgment is our default setting, but it is not our natural state. Judgment is exhausting. Judgment is simply not necessary. When we release the urge to judge, we instantly access the knowledge beyond it. This knowledge brings a feeling of unalterable peace. An affirmation that is helpful is, I am the peace beyond all judgment. I am the peace beyond all judgment. And once more, I am the peace beyond all judgment. And I will end with a quote from A Course in Miracles that inspired this meditation. All uncertainty comes from the belief that you are under the coercion of judgment. You do not need judgment to organize your life, and you certainly do not need it to organize yourself. In the presence of knowledge, all judgment is automatically suspended. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, now that I know that no one's judging me after our meditation, right? It's true confession time. So I want to start by telling you about a gift I was born with. No need to be jealous, though. And some of you might have the same gift. It's the gift of feeling dead inside. I used to see it as a curse, the curse of depression. And because depression ran in my family, I think I just accepted it on some level for a very long time. And I was raised Catholic, but wasn't active in the church by choice because it wasn't a welcoming experience for me. I tried therapy, which was helpful, but certainly no cure. But I became really interested in the mind and how it works and why we do the things we do. But I wanted to study it as a scientist. I was certain that spirituality would have nothing at all to do with it, with this revelation I imagined having. But after getting a PhD in psychology, I was still struggling. In fact, my depression peaked a few years later. With the birth of my children, I had postpartum depression with both of them. And this is what depression felt like to me when I was at my lowest point. So this is actually the first paragraph from my book. Depression has a taste. Its bitterness will not leave your mouth, no matter how many times you try to swallow it down. Depression has a smell. Its rancidness saturates every breath you inhale. Depression has a sound. Its piercing shriek is so deafening that lips are moving all around you, but you can't make out a word. Depression has a look. Its searing glare is reflected in eyes that only send daggers your way. Depression has a feel. Its bone-chilling frost is like an anesthesia that never wears off. Yeah, so there's that. But it was in the midst of this all-time low that I finally reached my point of surrender, and I made a cry for help in my mind. And I remember exactly what I said to myself. I said, all right, well, if there's a higher power, which I don't think there is, then come and save me, which you probably won't. And you're going to have to do all the work because I'm in no position to get myself to you. You can see that I'm balled up on the couch right now. And that actually worked. Not instantly, but very gradually over time. So I started opening myself up in a new way. I taught yoga for a while. I ran a business as an energy healer. And then I was introduced into the book A Course in Miracles by a colleague. And I was never the same after that. The book had me at hello. And I do feel that the Course helped me heal my depression permanently. And it really came down to me confusing internal and external. I thought that my external self was what I presented to the world through the roles I played. And I thought my internal self, my private thoughts of self-hatred, were the real me. And now I know that my private thoughts of self-hatred are just as external to me as everything else that I think I am. When I think with the ego, the fear-soaked part of my mind. So now I'm to the point on a good day where I can think of my depression as a gift, because I was actually seeing the ego very clearly, and through seeing it clearly, I could make a firm decision to see that it had nothing to offer me and I could let it go. And what I went through inspired me to write a book about self-deception. And I'm going to share all of the top 10 lies with you in some detail. But first, the spoiler alert that there's really just one lie in need of correction, and that's the idea that it's possible to be separate from each other and separate from our source. And that error has trickled down to all other lies. So here's the list as I see it. And my list was inspired by David Letterman's top 10 list. I thought, what if the ego had to reveal what it was really up to? Wouldn't that be funny? So number 10, lie number 10, nothing's more important than being right. And of course you always are. The game the ego plays is, if I can convince myself that you are wrong, I can cover up my hidden belief that I'm the one who's actually wrong. And in psychology, Anna Freud called this reaction formation, where the person who digs in their heels the deepest, you are wrong, is actually the most afraid that they are the one who's actually wrong. So this awareness can help you respond compassionately in a situation where you may otherwise be tempted to defend your position. And the Course asks us, do you prefer to be right or happy? An exercise in mental stretching would be to ask yourself two questions. Who have I locked up in the penitentiary of the eternally wrong? And what judge do I consult to confirm my sentencing? Of course, if you're locking anyone up in your mind, you're doing it with the ego, who wants you to build that wall between yourself and others stronger and higher every day. Line number 9, there's not enough of anything to go around, so take your share by any means possible. And the ego loves to take you down the rabbit hole of scarcity. And the way it works is either you have something or I do, but we can't have it at the same time. But what if our belief in lack came first, and then we started seeing that belief projected outward in the world and in our bodies? Ken Wapnick, a Course philosopher, wrote in his book, Form versus Content, the body was made as an instrument of scarcity. If I do not fill my lungs with oxygen, my body with food and water, and my psychological body with love and attention, something terrible will surely happen. And the way out of the scarcity trap is to draw from Spirit's knowledge of abundance as our identity. So challenge yourself to set an intention one day at a time. For today and today only, I'm willing to believe that I could never run out of anything that matters. So my list of things I have enough of today are lip balm, arugula, friends, and love. Line number 8, chaos is business as usual, so just get used to it. And the Course clarifies the problem at hand. You look on chaos and proclaim it as yourself. And often we do let chaos define us, but we could view it as a choice. Chaos is our unconscious acceptance that everything must change, blocking our awareness that nothing real ever could change. Our perfect peace is unalterable. And the practice is to pay close attention to the slightest irritation at the chaos around you, because beneath it lies seething resentment and anger, like molten lava ready to erupt. So I've asked myself, if minor irritations are a sign of a larger problem, does that mean I'm almost constantly angry? Well, yes, when I'm following the ego. I think I'm angry at X, Y, Z outside of me, but I'm really angry that I think I pulled off the impossible, separating from my source of love. Line number 7, there is someone out there who can finally complete you, so never stop searching. And if we keep looking, the ego confidently tells us we are all but guaranteed to find the feeling of completion we long for in another. After all, it's a great big world filled with endless possibilities. But the secret mantra of the ego, according to the Course, is seek and do not find. And ego-driven relationships are very primitive. I've looked at my husband like he was the president, meaning there's no better person to carry out my agenda. And I've looked at my husband like he was a president I didn't vote for. Like there was no person more in the way of me completing my agenda. But we can evolve all of our relationships by allowing Spirit to repurpose them. And it will result in a shift away from elevating or condemning the other person, as you understand that completion and wholeness is something that both parties already bring to the table. Line number 6, you must find a way to be truly unique or better than others, because you are. And the ego tries to convince us that if we don't continually strive to be unique and superior, our identity will weaken until we cease to exist as an individual at all. But Spirit clarifies that only the fictional separate self that we created would be released. And the thing about chasing the victory is that the victory is not really that sweet. This is because it's isolating by nature. Our most special victories can't be shared. The Course says specialness can never share, for it depends on goals that you alone can reach. So for example, my long-term goal of finally becoming a doctor made me happy for all of about 1 month. Not the lifetime that I imagined. And this is because our individual goals always feel a bit hollow, and joint goals are much more fulfilling. Line number 5, you must attack first and often, or risk being defeated. And all forms of attack, from physical to verbal to just thinking about it, are vehicles for the ego's agenda to reinforce the idea of separation as a fixed state of being above all else. Applying Spirit's knowledge, we can come to understand that attacking or being attacked wounds us equally. That's because there's actually only one of us here appearing as many, which means that all attack is self-attack. The ego wants us to focus intensely on our enemies, and this prevents us from figuring out that it's actually our unconscious guilt over separating from our source that never really happened, which is behind attack in every form. As the Course reminds us, you are trying to escape a bitter war from which you have escaped. The war is gone. And the practice of parting ways with attack thoughts is to replace them with thoughts of innocence. So start with something easy. So for me, I can see complete and total innocence in my cat, Zane Grey. And this is easy since my cat can do no wrong in my kingdom. And then just keep going, eventually including those who you feel have wronged you. So I see complete and total innocence in the school bus driver. And this has been difficult for me since my daughter was injured on the bus and I didn't feel like the driver handled it well. And this is related to lie number 4. The person who can hold a grudge the longest wins. So hang on tight. And the ego will cheer us on until we're the last grudge standing, the ultimate prize. And it's the mantra of only the weak let things go. And if we do, against all odds, attempt to release a grudge under the ego's guidance, it will be of little value. Whether we do so because we're better than anyone who wronged us, or we demand an apology with a dramatic ultimatum, or we hide a lasting resentment behind momentary kindness. In each case, we've still fulfilled the ego's goal of seeing ourselves as separate and better. Even when we muster up enough compassion to understand where the other character in our grudge story might be coming from, although that's an improvement, what would really cut to the quick is to acknowledge that a part of us, the false part, unknowingly consented to the story with the goal of self-punishment. And wow, was it effective. Spirit can help us unlearn this destructive style of forgiveness with a reminder of oneness, which means that all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. As the Course teaches, my grievances show me what is not there. Any grievance against another is symbolic of our totally unjustified grievance against our source, that it somehow wronged us when we forgot about it from the perspective of the ego's dream world of hate. We can repurpose the world from the ego's prison to Spirit's forgiveness classroom, where we are ready and willing to look at our faulty perceptions about everything. So instead of active fault-finding, our interest shifts to recovering faultlessness. Line number 3, reacting out of fear comes naturally, so just stick with the program. And operating in fear is our default setting until we choose to follow Spirit, the teacher of love, instead. We are either loving or fearful all of the time. Only the ego believes it's possible and necessary to mix love with a healthy dose of fear for our own protection. But love built on a foundation of fear is doomed to fail. Fear mixed with love is our experience only because we set it up that way in the dream we share. It's the cruelest form of self-punishment imaginable, and we are just imagining it, a continuous reenactment of believing we discarded love and then must fight fearfully to get it back. And the Course says, produced by fear, the ego reproduces fear. And this reminds me of the computer science concept of GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, which simply states that faulty input yields faulty output. So our faulty input was accepting this fear-inducing idea that separation from each other and our source was possible and was what we wanted above all else. And all output following that decision has been infected with fear and is therefore faulty. And we can learn not to trust it. Line number 2, love is a sign of weakness and can really mess with your head. Just avoid it at all costs. The ego's goal is to use fear to block love in all forms from our awareness and then send us on a desperate, never-ending search for it. But the ego doesn't want us to remember that we are love itself. If we did, the ego would cease to exist instantaneously. And the Course encourages the mantra, love is my heritage, and with it, joy. What we are called to do is get in the flow of love. Think of it like handing out Halloween candy. We give it freely and equally to all the children who come to our door, right? Even if we prefer some costumes over others. Some costumes are adorable and some are fearful. Fear is just a very popular, overused costume that we can choose to wear, choose to shed. We certainly don't need to ask someone else to take theirs off to prove their love underneath. We know that on some level, and we can act accordingly. Since there's only one of us here, appearing as many, imagine that you are the one holding the candy bucket and the one getting the goodies. So you can give out candy unconditionally to all the other versions of yourself. And in doing so, you alone would transform fear to love on a grander scale than you could even imagine. And yes, I'm saying that candy equals love. Have you tried marshmallow peeps? And lie number 1, you can't count on anyone but yourself. And by the way, you're a huge disappointment. The ego is out to persecute you personally, although it's actually not personal because it reserves the same fate for all of us, to take the idea of separation to the extreme where we each experience the horror of not feeling connected to a single thing. And the ego won't rest until it gets you to that place of suffering and solitary confinement. But the ego's days are numbered. It's the only part of us that can die because it was never really a part of us. To remember this truth, we need only give the teacher of misery the pink slip, and the new hire, the teacher of joy, can ask, can we laugh about it yet? And I've realized that if I can't make something fun, I just don't want to do it. And my 20-year-old self wanted to be a singer, an actress, or a stand-up comedian. So I'm attempting to combine all those things that I love to do. So I'm going to finish this talk with a mashup I did of my favorite book, A Course in Miracles, with my favorite movie, The Sound of Music. So I'm using the soundtrack to tell the story of the healing journey that we all share. It really is universal, and we can find comfort and laughter in that. And please sing along. And oh, you added pictures to my slides. Someone did that? Lovely. Okay, that's great. Get my bag of goodies. Yes, please sing along. You are always on. So the lonely goat herd is now the lonely ego. Out of the mind came a big projection. You're guilty, and you're guilty, and you're guilty too. Guilty of what? It doesn't matter. You're guilty, and you're guilty too. I said you're guilty. You're really guilty. You're really guilty. It must be true. Of course, the nuns were convinced that Maria was the problem, but we know that eventually we have to look in the mirror at our own role that we play in all this, our investment in the ego. How do you solve a problem like the ego? How do you catch your fears and pin them down? How do you find a word to define the ego? A deceiver, a distractor, a clown. Oh, how do you solve a problem like the ego? Know that it's the only problem around. So climb every mountain is nice. Now, don't climb every mountain. Don't climb every mountain. Don't search high and low. Don't follow every byway or every path you know. Don't climb every mountain. Don't ford every stream. Don't follow every rainbow, or you'll never leave this dream. Favorite things is now my ego's favorite things. Darkness and terror and utter destruction, Sickness and death and slowing down for road construction. Geese that can't fly with oil spill-coated wings. These are my ego's favorite things. A flesh-eating virus and thoughts of self-hatred. Churches set fire because nothing is sacred. Silver white winters that never melt into springs. These are my ego's favorite things. When the ego bites, when the ego stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember these are not my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. All props come from my kid's toy box. So who could forget the star-crossed lovers under the gazebo in the rainstorm? As they were so entangled in love. I am separate, and you are separate. How else could it ever be? Sometimes I love you, sometimes I hate you. What a calamity. I need someone much, much wiser, telling me what to do. Maybe I should listen to Spirit, yes? I'll take care of you. Now we're starting to see like Spirit sees with rose-colored glasses. Spiritual sight, spiritual sight. Now I'm finally believing that you were right and I was right. It's a new way of seeing. Blossom of love, may you bloom and grow forever. Spiritual sight, extending blessings forever. Now we're moving beyond form, beyond props, because I couldn't think of any more props. F-O-R-G-I-V-E, yes, it's time that we forgive. F-O-R-G-I-V-E, let it all go and forgive. Or you can count your grievances, and you can even call them sin. But it's not really possible to sin, and that brings us one again. F-O-R-G-I-V-E, no more sin. So long, farewell, our fear is finally gone. We feel the peace, we know it won't be long. We're glad to know that death is a big fat lie. We flit, we fleet, we flee, we fly. Goodbye to our fear. Goodbye. Let's all cheer. Goodbye. The big finish. Heaven is alive with the sound of miracles. Not one note was missed in the symphony. Love fills our hearts, no one is excluded. There's never a lack, and we have no need. If I dream of a hell where my heart is lonely, I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of miracles, and I'll sing once more. Heaven is alive with the sound of miracles.
There was a lot in that talk. I don't know if all you, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, right, you know. And the good thing is there's a whole book out there you can grab. You can come to the workshop this afternoon and get a little deeper. So we'll come to our offering time now and invite you to take a moment to find what you'd like to offer today from a gladdened heart. And when you're ready to do that, you can hold it to your heart if you like, or hold it in your hands, and we'll say together our offering blessing. Together,
Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. We are blessed to know the Spirit is our source.
Thank you, Father, Mother.
And so it is.
Amen. This seemed like an appropriate song to follow and talk with. Even though I hadn't heard it, I had heard it. Kind of heard your talk back in October, so yeah, I knew.
When the walls come tumbling down, I choose joy, I choose joy. When the world stops spinning round, I choose joy, I choose joy. When my heart had to move, when the Spirit slows to groove, when I have too much to prove, I choose joy, I choose joy.
Stand and sing with me. Hate is all I see. I choose joy.
I choose joy.
Fear won't let me be. I choose joy.
I choose joy.
When betrayal and lies hide the light from my eyes, look up to the sky. I choose joy.
I choose joy. Joy, 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 joy. I choose joy. Joy, 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 joy. I choose
Do that again together.
joy, 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 joy. I choose joy. Joy, 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 joy.
Gotta help me on this verse now. This moment right here, I choose joy.
I choose joy.
For the ones that I hold dear, I choose joy.
I choose joy.
Okay, so come back for Dana's workshop at 12:45, basically after the 11 o'clock service and after people have milled around a bit. So around that time, it'll be right here in the sanctuary. And anything else? We're going to celebrate Buddha's birthday tonight, which is celebrated today. Yesterday, actually, Wesak is the full moon of this time of year. So we're going to celebrate that tonight at 6 o'clock. Feel free to come back for that too. Spend the whole day. Bring a cot. I'm tempted to bring cot sometimes. Here we go. I'll invite you to come together in the center. Join hands if you can. We'll probably do a big oblong thing in the center and then come up and make a thermometer shape or something up here. There's a lot of here this morning. Move right on in. All right. Can you fit? All right, here we go. We let it be. We let the